Today I'm meeting with Melinda Stonecliffe, LCSW, that's a licensed clinical social worker. And before we get started, as is our custom, would you give people your contact information? Because if anyone watching would like to get in contact with you and talk more in the future, that way they'll know how and where to reach you.
Okay. Visit my website, please, at www.therapybymelinda.com, or just search on Facebook, Therapy by Melinda. Call me at 385-202-0071, or send me an email at melinda@therapybymelinda.com.
Now, in preparing for this, we've spoken a little bit, and I think you're really going to find this interesting because Melinda has experience both in dealing with the therapeutic and assessment needs that arise in litigation and court-related issues where the work of a psychologist or a licensed clinical social worker comes up when they're dealing with courts, sentencing, and things like that. But you also do private practice work.
Yes.
In fact, where would you say, what percentages do you deal with now, currently?
Well, probably about 70% of my clientele are people who are struggling with their addiction. Many people don't get help for that until the law steps in and says, you got to get help for this. Yeah.
All right, and so one thing that I thought was so great about what Melinda's willing to talk to us about today is that she's got some observations as to what happens on the court and the law enforcement related side. And just to give you some ideas, because I think there's a lot of misperceptions by people in the system and people that get into the system.
Yes.
That someone in your position could really shed a lot of light on. So I'm going to step out of the way, and Melinda's just going to share with you her observations and her ideas.
Thank you very much. Court-ordered treatment is a difficult thing to navigate because it is initiated often by law enforcement, and a judge will tell you, or even your person that you were assigned to give your assessment, which is also sort of an authority figure, tells you you need, X amount of weeks of treatment, and then you can, after you do that and pay your fine, you'll be off the hook. So there's a punitive edge to court-ordered treatment that really sometimes gets in the way of that treatment being successful.
Kind of a jump through these hoops and check the box, and we'll consider you to be cured or successfully treated.
Yeah.
When in fact, they could have nothing to do with each other.
Right. So sometimes people confuse treatment with actually what the punitive end of that, which is, you better pee clean and show up to all your groups and check in at court and get all those fines paid. We're not within that entity, even though the guidance to say you need treatment comes from that place. So I would really love if people could understand that when you go and see a therapist after you've been court ordered, truly the therapist I can't speak for all therapists, but if you were to come and see me, I am not going to come from that punitive place because I understand that gets in the way of real healing, and I want my time with my clients to be the most effective that they can be. And if I come from a place of, you should be ashamed or you should feel guilty or you're a criminal, that's not going to work. And I don't see my clients that way, and I don't see people who struggle with addiction in that light at all. We're all human beings. You've probably learned how to cope with some really traumatic things that occurred in your life in an unhealthy way. And I'm here to help you learn how to cope in healthier ways, to help you find a way to create joy and good feeling in your life again. And of course, that's going to come from also feeling some of the bad feelings, feeling some of the discomfort of not being able to say, go get a drink when you've had a hard day, or go smoke some pot if you want to deal with your stress. There are other ways to cope, and we learn that when you're in therapy with me in a gentle way, not with that punitive edge.
And what was the next subject you were going to talk about?
Well, I think that the reason why we see a high recidivism rate...
Okay, stop there.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure that you hold that thought, because I want to ask another question.
Okay.
So people that have been dealing, I agree. I'm not a psychologist or a social worker,
Okay.
but I do like the idea. One thing I've learned over the course of my career is that when there is dysfunction in a family,
Yes.
there's often secrets, trauma that people dealt with, or at least one of the couple dealt with,
Yes.
that they were too embarrassed by,
Yep.
or didn't really want to talk about it and thought they had managed.
Mm-hmm.
And they also know that I'm drinking or smoking pot. And I don't want my spouse to know that, because I know that my spouse or my fiance at the time disapproved. So I will do this in secret. I've been managing to do it in secret for a very long time.
Yeah.
I'll just continue to do that. And then they get caught out.
Yep.
Could you tell me if you feel it's appropriate? What do you say to someone who says, I don't know this person anymore, when in fact this person is saying, look, this isn't really who I am, it's not who I want to be. In fact, I was trying to be a better person by drinking and taking drugs, believe it or not,
Right.
because I'm so damaged and in so much pain, and you help make me a better person, you bring me joy. Please don't turn your back on me because I told you that I was, for example, a good Mormon boy who doesn't smoke or drink.
Yep.
And now you found out I have, or that I look at pornography,
Right.
whether you're Jewish or Catholic or you're Muslim. You see what I'm saying?
Right. But is this Utah family law?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we can say.
But
that,
still,
yeah.
it doesn't matter whether, even if you're just, if you're just an atheist, but you know what I mean? These problems
Right.
arise in all kinds of relationships. Could you just kind of tell us a little bit about, because I think spouses that find out about this, they feel so betrayed, and that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah.
But does that mean you must get a divorce because, you know what, damn it, you've been lied to for years, and now we just can't trust each other?
Well, the broken trust that exists after a partner learns of their loved one's addiction is real. I mean, that broken trust is a really difficult thing to prepare. It's going to take a lot of time to repair that. I also open up because I do my own thing and I'm in my own practice, I get to say, oh, you're having trouble with your spouse? Let's do a couples session. It doesn't have to be so finite and
Is there hope for this relationship to continue, and that we can simply we can attack this problem that this person has been self-medicating with because they knew no other way, or it was the path of least resistance? Is there hope for this spouse who says, I feel betrayed, and go ahead and feel betrayed?
Yeah.
Everybody agrees.
Yeah.
But does that mean you also must take the next step and then say, and now I'm going to throw the relationship out?
Oh, no. I don't think the relationship has to be thrown out at all. In fact, what's going on is when someone is really deep in their addiction, they actually have a relationship with that substance or with that alcohol. So, you might very well have been in a marriage that was 20 years with your alcoholic partner, and they probably didn't hide it as well as they think they were hiding it, right? But once it's all out in the open, and maybe there's a car wreck from a DUI or something, all of a sudden you get to explore the relationship that your partner had with that substance and how it affected the relationship with the person you love, with the human, right? And now we get to pull out that substance, that third party that's just sort of always hanging out there. We get to remove it, because the good thing about court order treatment is that you can't do that thing, or else you might go back to jail or have a longer sentence, right?
It's one thing to find out that your spouse or partner has been having an affair behind your back.
Yeah.
But something like this substance abuse or addiction doesn't mean that you have been married to a stranger, does it?
No. But it does feel, alcohol is often referred to as like a mistress because it does feel like there's this other entity that's present. And so then you remove that entity, you stop using your substance, and all of a sudden sort of the fog is lifted and you're kind of looking at this whole person again, this person that maybe you don't recognize without that element present. So I like to talk to couples and say that this is a point in time that's really exciting, because maybe you start dating again, and maybe you take it really slow and you start to get to know each other again, because truly you are meeting someone once they're completely clean and sober, and if they haven't been for maybe their entire adult life, they're meeting parts of themselves that they have been unacquainted with for a long time.
And doing it for the sake of you and the relationship. I mean, this is something that they're dedicated. There should be an element of there should be some admiration for it if you're willing to give that person time.
Well, and doing it, I want to be clear, doing it for your partner doesn't seem to work.
Right.
And doing it for your kids,
right.
and
But it is,
doing
they
it,
will benefit, is what I'm saying. I'm not
Of
saying,
course,
you're
of
not,
course.
you're not doing it just yet, but you talked about dating, getting to know that person once
Yeah.
the fog is lifted. It's like the
Yeah.
fact that this person is trying should give you hope and not just make it look like you've been fooled all these years.
truly.
So
Yes.
I thank you very much, because I think that's a message that a lot of people need to hear no matter what. Now, we were talking about recidivism,
Well,
and I want to get back on that, but
Yeah.
and if you need to finish another thought.
so this
go
is
right
a
ahead.
great segue, because
Excellent.
when you talk about doing it for your spouse, even though that's not what you meant.
No, but you're right, because let's get to that, because some people say, well, I'm doing it for something outside myself.
So if it is a court-ordered treatment that you're engaged in, and say you have 36 weeks, right, and you are checking in with your PO, and you just want to make your judge happy, and you're doing it to please all these external elements, it's not, if it's just that, if that's how it stays until the end, likely you will go right back to your addiction. And that's why our recidivism rates are high, because we have so much emphasis on, well, you got to be that good citizen, and you got to complete your community service. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying when you're engaging in the treatment aspect, when you're with me, when you're in my group, when you're in my office, it's not about that at all.
Because when you're doing it for the judge, it's when the judge is out of the picture.
Your
Bring
judge
back
is
the
not
drugs.
going to be at your family
Right,
reunion.
right, bring back the drugs and
probably.
alcohol. The judge doesn't care anymore. The judge is
Yeah.
satisfied I did what I was supposed to do, so I guess
Right.
I can go back to my wicked ways.
So I take it a level deeper, and I want you to explore, why is this meaningful for me, outside of even my spouse and my kids, right? Like, why is this important for my life, this one life that I've been given, to create something beautiful, to be able to exist in a way that's completely authentic, to be able to cope with things without having to run and grab that security blanket that clearly is maladaptive, right? So I love doing this work. I love meeting people when they're in this very vulnerable place, and I am not going to exploit you because you're in that vulnerable place. I offer very reasonable rates. I want to show up for you if you are freaking out and you're having this craving and you don't know what to do. Like, call me, text me, email, you know what I mean?
And you're doing it for yourself, because that way you're accountable for your actions, not something external like your probation officer, your parole officer, or the judge, or
Right.
even your spouse. The other person you're doing it for yourself.
Right.
You're going to stay on track because there's other people that aren't controlling you or holding you accountable.
Well, I have to be authentic to who I am as a therapist, and who I am is someone who wants you to get excited about this work, because this is your soul's work. It truly is. When addicts are struggling with their thing, their one thing that feels like a cross on their back, that is the one thing where if they can break through that and like change their way of living, it can just be a remarkable thing. I've seen it. It's so exciting. And so I guess I want to tell people, if you're in the system, if you've been ordered to do some therapy, don't be too afraid. Don't think that you're going to go to this person who's going to scold you and kind of, make you feel like that criminal. If that's the case, there are other options. You don't have to participate in that, because you can call me.
Now, this is something I don't know, and so
Yeah.
if you're ordered to go and then you've got something set up and you've gone through it for a couple of weeks and you're like, this person's really rubbing me the wrong way, can you go back to court and say, look,
Well,
I don't like this, but I have found some, in other words, I don't like what I'm doing, but Your Honor, I've already talked with Melinda,
Right.
and I've got her name, and I've got her number, and I know her office hours and everything like that. In fact, I've even got a tentative appointment. Will that get a good reception, or what?
It depends on, it depends on your judge, it depends on your PO, it depends on who does your assessment. But I've worked with people before where, if they're already seeing me and then the DUI happens, and then, it's like, instead of going into some other program, we've worked it out so they're able to stay with me and just go to my group that I run. And so, you need a good therapeutic relationship for real change to take place. So if you find yourself with someone and they're not meeting you where you are, like as far as, don't be nervous, I get you know, but they're like meeting you where you are, like in giving you mediocre treatment because they're like, well, you don't really care about this, so I'm not really going to care about this, and you're allowed to be on your phone in group, and like, no, that's not what's going to help you.
That's a good point. This is a great place as we close too, because like, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but
No.
you know that.
No, if you want to get your card punched, go ahead. There are so many places in this town and all over the nation where that's exactly what kind of business they're in. They will take your money, they will punch your card, you'll be out of there, and that's that.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Melinda, is because because if you're looking to make real change, or you've been kind of jolted into having to confront this problem by the DUI or being caught with, with possession or something like that,
Yeah.
you're saying, you can punch your card, or maybe you can make the best of a bad situation.
Or maybe you can change your life.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. For such a short period of time, you've really made things very clear, and I appreciate you being so candid with us. Before we go, please give us your contact information one more time.
All right. www.therapybymelinda.com, 385-202-0071. Texting's the best. It's fastest.
You're actually lucky. Yeah, see, I can't stand texting most of the time.
If you're a big Facebooker, just search me at Therapy by Melinda. You can get a really good sense of what gets me excited and all the things I have to explore there. Or you can email me at melinda@therapybymelinda.com.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.